Hi and welcome to a more in-depth discussion on the IS auditing process. Here we introduce the purpose of information systems auditing and provides a high-level overview of the complete audit lifecycle, standards, professional ethics and conduct. The session establishes the foundational principles that support structured, risk-based, and evidence-driven auditing practices. Internal auditing is a structured and disciplined process that supports governance, strengthens internal control, improves risk management, and helps organizations achieve their objectives. This series has been designed to provide a practical walkthrough of the complete internal audit lifecycle, beginning with foundational concepts and progressing through planning, execution, reporting, and continuous improvement. Part 1 introduces the foundations of auditing, including professional standards, ethics, and the overall audit lifecycle. This section establishes the core principles and responsibilities that guide internal audit activities and professional conduct. Part 2 focuses on governance, the foundation of the audit function, and understanding the business environment. This includes governance structures, audit independence, enterprise risk management, organizational strategy, stakeholder expectations, and aligning audit activities with business risk. Part 3 moves into enterprise risk assessment, audit universe development, and strategic audit planning. Here the focus is on identifying organizational risks, prioritizing audit areas, and developing risk-based audit plans that direct assurance efforts toward areas of highest significance. Part 4 covers individual engagement planning and audit project management. This includes defining audit objectives and scope, developing audit programs, managing timelines and resources, coordinating stakeholders, and preparing for effective fieldwork execution. Part 5 transitions into audit execution and fieldwork. This section explores evidence collection, audit testing, walkthroughs, sampling methodologies, and the practical procedures auditors use to evaluate controls and support audit conclusions. Part 6 expands into data analytics, technology-enabled auditing, evaluation of findings, and root cause analysis. The focus here is on using data and technology to improve audit insight, strengthen assurance, identify anomalies, and understand why issues occur rather than only identifying symptoms. Finally, Part 7 concludes the series with audit reporting, communication, follow-up activities, quality assurance, and continuous improvement. This section examines how audit findings are communicated, how corrective actions are monitored, and how the audit function continuously improves its effectiveness and value delivery. Together, these 7 parts provide a complete, risk-focused, and practical understanding of the internal audit process, from governance and planning through to assurance, reporting, and ongoing improvement. Audit standards and guidelines provide the professional foundation for effective auditing. They ensure audits are performed consistently, objectively, and in accordance with recognized best practices. This slide highlights the key domains that guide the audit profession, including attribute standards, performance standards, implementation guidance, and the code of ethics. Together, these define how audit functions should be structured and how audit engagement should be performed. It also introduces some of the major standards and frameworks used in auditing, such as the IIA standards, ISOs, INTERSCI, COSO, ISO standards, and applicable laws and regulations. At the bottom, the slide reinforces the importance of audit principles, quality assurance, and continuous improvement to ensure audits remain reliable, professional, and value-adding. Ultimately, standards and frameworks help auditors deliver credible assurance, improve governance, strengthen controls, and build stakeholder confidence. Standards and frameworks are essential to the auditing profession because they provide the structure, consistency, and guidance needed to perform reliable and high-quality audits. This slide introduces some of the most widely used standards and frameworks in auditing and explains how they support governance, risk management, compliance, and assurance activities. The first section explains why standards and frameworks matter. They promote consistency and professionalism, establish a common audit language and methodology, support risk-based and evidence-driven auditing, strengthen stakeholder confidence, and help organizations improve governance and control effectiveness. At the center of the slide is a comparison of key audit standards and frameworks. The IPPF, or International Professional Practices Framework, is issued by the Institute of Internal Auditors, or IIA. It provides mandatory guidance and best practices for internal auditing, including principles, standards, ethics, and quality requirements. CISA frameworks, including COBIT and IS auditing guidance, focus on IT governance, information systems control, cybersecurity, and risk management. These are especially important in technology-enabled environments and are heavily referenced in CISA-related auditing. Inter-CISA standards are designed for public sector auditing and are commonly used by government auditors and supreme audit institutions to promote accountability and transparency. ISO standards provide internationally recognized requirements and guidance for management systems, security, quality, privacy, and risk management. Examples include ISO 27001 for information security and ISO 9001 for quality management. The COSO framework focuses on internal control, enterprise risk management, and governance effectiveness. It is widely used in financial, operational, and compliance environments. The slide also highlights the different types of guidance these frameworks provide. This includes principles and standards, audit methodologies, implementation guidance, evaluation criteria, and professional development practices. Another important section explains how these frameworks work together. Organizations establish governance structures, identify and assess risks, design and implement controls, monitor effectiveness, and continuously improve performance. Different frameworks support different parts of this life cycle. For example, IPPF and CISA are commonly used together for internal audit and IT governance. COSO and IPPF are often combined for enterprise risk management and control assurance, while ISO standards support structured management systems and operational controls. At the bottom of the slide are several important reminders for auditors. Use the correct framework for the audit objective, understand the requirements properly, document how standards were applied, and apply professional judgment throughout the engagement. The key takeaway is that standards drive consistency, while frameworks drive excellence. Together, they help auditors deliver objective, reliable, and value-adding assurance that supports stronger governance and organizational performance. Professional ethics are one of the most important foundations of the audit profession because they establish the trust, credibility, and integrity that stakeholders expect from auditors. This slide summarizes the key principles that represent the true spirit and intent of the CISA Code of Professional Ethics and professional auditing practices in general. The first principle focuses on supporting policies, standards, and procedures. Auditors are expected to promote compliance with appropriate standards and follow recognized professional practices when performing audit work. The second principle highlights objectivity, professional care, and due diligence. Auditors must perform their work fairly, consistently, and without bias while applying professional judgment and maintaining high-quality audit practices. Another key responsibility is serving the interests of stakeholders honestly and lawfully. Auditors are trusted to act ethically and professionally while protecting the reputation and credibility of the profession. Confidentiality is also critical. Auditors often work with highly sensitive information and must protect that information from unauthorized disclosure or personal misuse. Professional competence and quality are equally important. Auditors should only perform work they are qualified to undertake and must continuously improve their knowledge, skills, and professional capability. The slide also emphasizes truthful reporting. Auditors are expected to report findings accurately, objectively, and completely, even when the results may be difficult or unpopular. Professional development and support are ongoing responsibilities within the profession. Auditors must continue learning, improving, and helping organizations strengthen governance, security, risk management, and control awareness. Finally, compliance with the Professional Code of Ethics is mandatory. Failure to comply may result in disciplinary action and can damage both professional credibility and stakeholder trust. On the right-hand side of the slide are the core ethical values that guide auditor behavior: integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, competency, accountability, and trustworthiness. The key message is simple: strong ethics lead to strong audits. Ethical auditors provide reliable assurance, support good governance, and help organizations make informed and responsible decisions. Successful audits depend on more than just audit procedures and checklists. They depend on having the right people, with clearly defined responsibilities, working together throughout the entire audit lifecycle. This slide maps the major audit roles against each stage of the audit process using a RACI approach, showing who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed at different points in the engagement. The process begins with initiating and planning the audit. At this stage, the audit client, audit committee, and chief audit executive help define objectives, approve plans, and ensure the audit aligns with organizational priorities and risk. During engagement planning, the engagement manager or lead auditor takes a central role in developing the audit program, defining scope, identifying resources, and coordinating with stakeholders. Management and process owners are consulted to provide information about risks, controls, and operational processes. As fieldwork begins, audit team members perform testing, gather evidence, conduct interviews, and document results. The auditee and management support the process by providing access to systems, records, personnel, and explanations of how controls operate in practice. In the evaluation and conclusion phase, auditors analyze evidence, assess control effectiveness, identify root causes, and develop findings and recommendations. Management is consulted to validate facts and discuss practical remediation actions. Reporting and communication involve preparing the audit report, presenting findings, and communicating results to stakeholders. The audit committee and executive management review significant issues, risk exposures, and proposed corrective actions. Follow-up and monitoring ensure that agreed actions are actually implemented. Management becomes responsible for remediation activities, while internal audit monitors progress, validates corrective actions, and escalates unresolved risks where necessary. The final phase focuses on continuous improvement. Lessons learned are captured, audit methodologies are refined, and quality improvement initiatives help strengthen future audit engagements. At the bottom of the slide are the key principles that apply across every audit stage. These include independence, integrity, competence, due professional care, communication, teamwork, and confidentiality. One important takeaway from this slide is that auditing is highly collaborative. While auditors provide independent assurance, successful audits rely on cooperation between governance bodies, management, auditees, specialists, and the audit team itself. When responsibilities are clearly defined and properly executed, the audit process delivers credible assurance, meaningful insight, stronger governance, and improved organizational performance. The Information Systems Audit Lifecycle is a structured, risk-based process used to evaluate governance, risk management, controls, compliance, and operational effectiveness across the organization. The lifecycle begins with governance and the audit charter, where the authority, responsibilities, independence, and scope of the audit function are formally established. Auditors then work to understand the organization and its environment, including business objectives, processes, technologies, regulatory requirements, governance structures, risk exposure. Using this understanding, the audit function performs risk assessments and develops the audit universe to identify and prioritize high-risk areas that require assurance activities. This leads into audit planning and scheduling, where risk-based audit plans are developed, resources are allocated, and audit activities are aligned with organizational priorities and governance expectations. For each individual engagement, auditors perform engagement planning by defining scope, objectives, audit criteria, testing approaches, resources, timelines. The audit then moves into audit project management and fieldwork execution, where auditors conduct interviews and walkthroughs, test controls, perform substantive and compliance testing, Review configurations and processes. Document evidence and results. To improve efficiency and coverage, auditors apply sampling methodologies, evidence collection techniques, data analytics, and computer-assisted audit techniques, often referred to as CAATs. Once testing is complete, auditors evaluate findings, identify root causes, assess business impact, and develop recommendations. The results are formally communicated through audit reporting and stakeholder communication, including findings, risk ratings, recommendations, management responses. The life cycle continues with follow-up and remediation activities to verify corrective actions and confirm that identified risks have been properly addressed. Finally, the audit function itself undergoes quality assurance and continuous improvement to enhance methodologies, skills, audit performance, and overall effectiveness. This life cycle forms the foundation of CISA Domain 1 and provides the framework for understanding how modern information systems audits are planned, executed, and continuously improved. This next part of the series shifts the focus from the audit process itself to the broader governance and organizational environment in which auditing operates. Effective auditing is not only about testing controls and reporting findings. Auditors must also understand how governance structures, business strategy, organizational culture, risk management, and stakeholder expectations influence the overall control environment and audit effectiveness. In Part 2, we will explore governance and oversight structures, including the roles of executive management, the board, and the audit committee. We will also discuss the audit charter, audit authority, independence, and objectivity, which form the foundation of a credible and effective audit function. Another important area is the three lines model and how assurance responsibilities are distributed across management, risk and compliance functions, and internal audit. The series will also cover professional ethics and auditor responsibilities, including integrity, confidentiality, professional skepticism, and due professional care. From a business perspective, auditors must understand organizational objectives, business strategy, and both internal and external business environments. We will also examine enterprise risk management, risk appetite, regulatory and compliance requirements, and how organizational culture and stakeholder expectations influence risk and governance practices. Before we close, a quick disclaimer. This content is provided for educational and awareness purposes only and is intended to support learning, discussion, and professional development within the field of information systems auditing, governance, cybersecurity, and risk management. The material presented in this series is based on practical experience, professional interpretation, research, and continuous learning. While every effort has been made to ensure accuracy and relevance, viewers should always refer to official standards, frameworks, guidance publications, and authoritative sources for formal requirements and certification preparation. This content is not affiliated with, endorsed by, or officially associated with any organizations. All trademarks, framework names, and reference standards remain the property of their respective owners. The objective of this series is to simplify concepts, support understanding, and encourage continuous learning within the audit and assurance profession. Thank you for joining me in this introduction to the information systems audit process and the CISA Domain 1 journey. I hope this session helped simplify the overall audit lifecycle and provided a clearer understanding of how modern information systems audits are planned, executed, and managed. If you found the content useful, please consider liking the video, sharing it with others interested in auditing, cybersecurity, governance, and risk management, subscribing to the channel, following the series for future deep dives into CISA concepts and real-world audit practices. There is still much more to explore as we continue through audit standards, professional ethics, governance, risk management, control frameworks, audit techniques, cybersecurity, data analytics, technology-enabled auditing. Thank you again for your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next part of the series.